We have choice in life, and that's something to not take for granted. You're not defined by your past. Because my exposure to anyone other than my mother was so limited, I had no idea that the way I lived was different or unusual. I was, during that week, abusing painkillers.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard might find herself back in prison if she doesn't stop lying about where she's at. Fans are picking up on little lies suggesting that she could be violating probation, and this would send Gypsy right back behind bars. So let's get into it. A lot of people have been requesting a Gypsy Rose Blanchard update, and it turns out that she's back. Now, I have a few different updates for you guys. It turns out that Gypsy is in California, but she did have time to weigh in on the Menendez brothers case, which a lot of people have been saying on social media that the Menendez brothers should be released and that Gypsy should be put back, which I just keep seeing this comment over and over again. Leave your thoughts below. This article reads, after Gypsy was released on parole for her role in the death of her mother, many began questioning why the Menendez brothers remained behind bars. Remember, Gypsy and her then boyfriend Nicholas were convicted for the death of Dee Blanchard, who was believed to have Munchausen syndrome by proxy, which pretty much meant that she got off on inflicting pain on her own daughter, which is sick. Dee felt like such a cool mom because she was seeing all these doctors and getting these awards and receiving money from charity, ultimately getting away with scamming people by using her daughter's health. In contrast, the Menendez brothers, who unalived their parents after enduring years of SA, were sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Given the similarities between the cases, many are puzzled to why Gypsy Rose was granted parole while the Menendez brothers continued to serve time. Which you have to keep in mind, they were different incidents at different time periods. A lot of people back then did not believe boys could be a victim, let alone to their own father. Gypsy was convicted, in a different time period, and I think her being a woman does play a factor into this. I think we would be ignorant to not consider that. As for Gypsy, after months of being out on parole and after Ryan Murphy's release of Monsters, she is deciding to weigh in on everything since everyone is comparing her case to their case. Now, on October 10th, Gypsy participated in a panel titled Thin Line Between Victim and Victimizer. This was in San Francisco in California, and there she discussed the Menendez brothers case.
I went to San Francisco State University because I did a talk there, a Q&A panel, talking about my experience in prison, talking about prison reform and like my education that I gained while in prison. It helps formerly incarcerated people get an education. So I was there sharing my experience and advice and thoughts. And then I came to LA to pleasure, I guess, because we got to see a couple of things around town.
Now, a lot of people had mixed reviews to Gypsy being hired as like a celebrity. This person commented, "It helps? No, it doesn't, Gypsy. Nothing you said helps people fresh out of prison get a stable job or therapy. Most are not rewarded for their crime," which you must admit that Gypsy has had like a rise to stardom. I don't know what like financially that really means for her, but there is at least fame, and I know she's coming out with a new book. Oh no, this person commented, "They should have left her at Alcatraz," which I believe is like abandoned prison there in San Francisco. This person asks, why is she allowed to just travel like she's not on parole? Why isn't she talking about Munchausen by proxy? Oh, that's right, because she doesn't know anything about it, which Gypsy has proclaimed that she wanted to start this career in activism, speaking about the disorder, which I honestly, of course, people who study the actual disorder and psychology and psychiatry, they're more qualified to speak about certain things like this, but I would assume someone also in that position has some qualifications, just in her defense, I guess, because how many people can say they survived it? Not many of them, unless they did the Gypsy way and just took out their own parents. But back to the Menendez brothers, because a lot of people do not like this series, especially how they over dramatize things like the SA and the relationship between the brothers, and just a lot of things that we could hear about, but we don't need to see it. Ryan Murphy has an interesting mind. In her case, Gypsy said that you cannot take it for face value. I stress documentaries do not do a deep dive into the case or someone's life. Real life research is best beyond anything you could find. So I guess speaking to the victims themselves.
We have choice in life, and that's something to not take for granted. I have a choice now to make myself into whatever I want to be. And that should go for everybody. You're not defined by your past, your status, or anything else. You can choose.
There are a lot of people out there telling Gypsy to go get a job, but as long as she's got books coming out, she probably won't need to. I mean, who knows if Lifetime is going to continue their series, but Gypsy is opening up about her new book titled My Time to Stand, which is interesting because, you know, she was in a wheelchair, so it is her time to stand and walk. She said, I'm in love with the title of my book, not only because it addresses the question I get the most, but because in our pain and our struggle, we could find what it is that we want to stand for. That inside our stories, if we dare to sit in the stillness of them, our purpose can be revealed. Now, I don't know if Gypsy's purpose from the jump was to be an author. I believe there are also 2 other authors on this book, so she's writing a little bit of it. Like, imagine these are the 2 authors, or this is one author, this is another author. She's just putting her pinky into it. I don't think she's doing too much. I mean, she's recording the audio part of it, which I'm confused by the vocals here, just because I'm not getting that typical high pitch like Gypsy voice that I'm used to. Here's a clip.
My mom volunteered for the Girl Scouts, but we changed troops a lot, always starting over. Because my exposure to anyone other than my mother was so limited, I had no idea that the way I lived was different or unusual. How could I? I attended school for 1 year. Kindergarten. After that, Mama pulled me out to homeschool me, except that was a lie. She didn't register me as a homeschooler.
Okay, I'm not trying to pick on Gypsy, but it's a little bit robotic. I think you guys can agree. Comment below. Not only will Gypsy be bringing awareness to Munchausen syndrome by proxy, but she will also recount her childhood memories, shedding light on the years of manipulation and abuse that she endured under her mother's control. I see a lot of people reference old clips of Gypsy at like Comic-Con events and things like this, trying to suggest that she was not in harm's way. She was out and enjoying the world with her mother. I don't really know what to make of these clips. I don't think her once a year outing like really shows that she was free in any way.
All right, we're back at VisionCon for the 2nd time ever. They actually invited us back, and we're here to see all kinds of different stuff. We never know what's going to happen. There may be a small Captain America. That's the sort of stuff you see at VisionCon.
Right. Hello. It's a lovely costume.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Party wig.
Sweet. Good job.
Gypsy definitely has some serious PR training when it comes to this book, saying, only because I did the work did my time to stand finally come. Now I can stand with other victims as they step towards doing whatever work is necessary to stand for themselves. My time to stand is about reclaiming my footing so others can be inspired to walk a life of purpose and meaning and build a future sturdy enough so others can stand for something too. Aw, Gypsy, wow. That's cute, right? My time to stand. She's really making a career off of this killing. She's killing it. Truly.
I really just want them to read this memoir and realize that it doesn't matter what you have been through in your life. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that good things still could happen for you regardless of the horrors that you may have experienced in your life, because I think everyone relates to trauma in some form or fashion.
Do you think about the past? Do you think about your mother?
I mean, of course. I'm in extensive therapy, and I work through my past by going through that therapy, and it's going to be a long journey. It's nothing that I will be able to get over in one day, so it's going to be a lifelong healing process for me. The level of deception that my mother had over these doctors was so extensive and so severe that these doctors would ignore test results coming back normal and things like this, things that should have been red flags. And unfortunately, I was one of the individuals of many that fall through the cracks.
I do think it's interesting that Gypsy can go on and speak about her case so freely because she is under parole. I think that it's almost risky because while everything's been dealt with in court, there is a world where she, I think, can be brought back into it, especially if there are discrepancies in the case. And while I do think she's probably put it all out on the table, she did have a serious addiction to opioids because of her mother putting her on these pills, giving her this medication, kind of forcing her into an addiction and with these surgeries and things. But when you are sick and addicted to these kind of drugs. I mean, it changes your perception of everything. And I thought it was interesting in the interview when they asked her about her drug usage, because I wonder what kind of implications that has on the case. While she claims she wasn't high during that time, I don't understand how you go from being high to not being high, then like one day not needing them, and then planning this entire thing. I mean, I would assume she wouldn't be super high because she's, you know, planning this unaliving. But an interesting mention, I think there's a reason why the reporters asked this.
You talked about something that you hadn't mentioned until recently, how you were actually addicted to painkillers, right? That was something that many people didn't know. I was wondering, at the time that the murder of your mother happened, were you under the influence of the painkillers? Were you high? Did that influence what occurred that night?
You know, I was during that week abusing painkillers. However, that was not something that affected my mental state at that time.
Now, as you guys all know, Gypsy Rose is currently pregnant. She's actually opening up about her living arrangements as she can't stay with Ken. Gypsy Rose has revealed that she's not able to live with her baby daddy Ken, which is kind of problematic, especially if he does have a double life like what everyone's alluding to. Gypsy explained that she's currently staying at her parents' house, but failed to reveal why her and Ken are no longer living together. Now, I don't know if this is a disagreement with the parents. In my opinion, I feel like she needs a permanent address for her parole officer, and maybe Ken doesn't have the means to provide that.
I haven't found that perfect crib yet, though. I really want it to be special. I want it to be something that just fits perfectly. So essentially she will have 2 nurseries because I am living at home with my parents for the time being, and Ken has his own place. So my room will be half nursery and half my room. But she will have like a whole shebang nursery at Ken's. And so we have started to think about color themes. We've started to think about what kind of theme the nursery will be.
Gypsy claimed that while she isn't currently staying with Ken, they are still together. A lot of people in the comment section did not believe Gypsy and accused her of breaking the rules of her probation. In response to Gypsy's story, one person wrote, "Read, she must have her own living space home as conditions of probation for a year after release. If she does not, she could go back to prison for breaking probation and have to complete the rest of the full sentence." So essentially, she needs this permanent address and it can't be Ken's. Another person added, "She's living with Ken, but she has her stuff at her parents, so they think that. Otherwise, she's with Ken 24/7. You expect people to believe that you are not living with him? Girl, stop." Another person brutally chimed in, "She doesn't know how to stop lying. She's done it her whole life, and her silly stands fall for her lies. She's so fake." In the mix of all this living situation drama, there was a moment where Gypsy almost ran into her her soon-to-be ex-husband, Ryan Anderson. Gypsy almost had an incredibly awkward encounter Saturday night, September 21st, while enjoying a date night with her boyfriend, Ken, at an LSU Tigers game. It looks like Gypsy did her big one. They did some tailgating. They had their purple gear ready to go and support the LSU Tigers. Well, it turns out that her ex, Ryan Anderson, was also at this game.
We're at the LSU game.
Woo! Go Tigers!
Now, fans picked up on the potentially uncomfortable meeting after Ryan mentioned he'd be at the game on his own TikTok page. A lot of people asked Gypsy if she had seen him there, which would have been so awkward. Ryan is so shady too. He even referenced Ken inside of his video, saying that Ken is a fake fan.
I'm a real Tigers fan. Don't know about that other guy, but legit, go Tigers. Look at all the people, Tiger Stadium. Gotta love them. Go Tigers. Hey guys, sitting here in Baton Rouge, about to go watch my Tigers whoop some Ole Miss Rebels. Let me show the people. I'm having a lot of fun with my nephew and all these people. Gonna have some fun tonight, guys. Go Tigers.
Now, Gypsy did respond to these comments because, of course, she's messy, saying that we did not run into Ryan. It was so crowded, I didn't even know he was going until late last night after I got tickets. Seeing his TikTok, he's putting like 100K plus people here. So I think he was trying to allude to that it's unlikely that they were going to run into each other. But if they were to, I just wish I could be there and see that interaction. Like, I don't want them to even see me. Don't notice me. I just want to be far away and watch the three interact because I can imagine Ryan getting a little bit like aggressive towards Ken, and Ken maybe running away. I want to hear what you guys think of this Gypsy Rose update in the comments below, and I'll see you in a new video soon. Bye, guys.